Hello, hello, and welcome back to the Black Girl Iowa podcast. I'm your host, Emily, and you guys, what a day. It is finally like getting to be true fall weather. Today is Sunday, and I woke up this morning, I looked at the weather, and it said it was going to be a high of like 65 today. It's breezy outside, very fall vibes. I have one of my fall harvest candles lit, and I'm just really loving today. And in addition, if you're watching the video for this podcast, I am wearing my Green Bay Packers shirt because we won today. We played the Cardinals, and it was a fantastic game. I got to watch the whole game today. I am just kind of like on cloud nine. But I wanted to get to you guys a fresh episode. I'm really excited for the interview that you guys are going to hear. But first, we are going to do a Black Iowa fact today. So, as you guys know, I moved into my new apartment over the summer, and all of my stuff is all over the place. I mean, it kind of looks tidy behind me right now, but anyway, the actual room where I hope to um, complete future episodes of the podcast and record them is currently has so many boxes all over the place. But I was able to unpack some boxes over the last couple of weeks, and I found outside in African American history in Iowa from 1838 to the year 2000. So if you are an Iowan, if you are a Black Iowan, you have seen this book somewhere. A very, very wonderful lady by the name of Deb Tierney gave me this book while I was employed at Simpson. Deb was the director of admissions at Simpson for like 30 years. And upon her retirement, she gave me this book. And I have flipped through it quite a bit, and it has just such an amazing and rich chronicle of history here in the state of Iowa when it comes to the Black population. And I mean, it goes as close to Des Moines, as far away to me as Waterloo, as south as, say, Keokuk, all over. It really just highlights the impact of African American culture and representation here in the state of Iowa. And I'm really happy that I found this book because there are so many awesome facts in the book. And a lot of those facts actually will relate to what I'm talking about on the podcast. So, with that being said, we're going to talk about entrepreneurship in Iowa. So, one of the cool things, and I believe I did actually mention this on a previous episode, I talked about the Center Street District. And the Center Street District was basically right around Kia Way in Des Moines. And it was this really booming area where there were restaurants, beauty shops, barber shops, all kinds of fantastic things in this area. Unfortunately, the district is no more because of the implementation of Interstate 235, which connects Interstate 80 and Interstate 35. So there is a highway system that goes directly through the middle of the city that went right through the middle of this amazing district of Black prosperity. And unfortunately, it is no more. But if history tells us anything, people often crawl so others can walk. So I want to tell you guys about one of the most popular restaurants, and this is from the book. So if you guys get this book, you'll want to read up on business and entrepreneurship here in the Des Moines area specifically. And the chapter breaks out all throughout the state. But I want to specifically talk about one of the most popular Center Street restaurants, and it was an 18-seat community luncheonette, which it opened in 1935. The book says Arthur P. and Gloretha Trotter, husband and wife, opened early for breakfast and stayed open until late at night. During World War II, when the Black population of Des Moines grew significantly, the Trotters served 300 meals a day. They also cooked for visiting Black celebrities. The Trotters retired in 1956, and their restaurant became known as the Burke Cafe, operated by R.J. Burke. The book also talks about some other amazing Black-owned businesses and restaurants in relation to nightlife. Some of those included the Sipa Supper Club, which featured a Saturday night shrimp dinner, the Shelburne Garden, and Samson's Chicken Shack. Now, this was actually on the east side of town, and it served barbecue chicken and rib dinners. They had a slogan on their card that stated, if you're in the doghouse at home, you're always welcome at Samson's Chicken Shack. So I know that is a very small Black Iowa fact that I have for you guys. This episode of the podcast is dedicated to those entrepreneurs that had businesses during that time here in the Des Moines area. You crawled so others can walk, specifically this person that I have on the show today. So that is enough for me. You know how I do it. We're going to go ahead and run the interview. I'm going to let you guys hear from this amazing person, and then I will be back at the end for final thoughts and a sneak peek into next week's episode. At this time, I'd like to introduce to you today's guest. She is a Chicago native with a passion for food and serving the local community. Joppa Experience is a pop-up food staple, and you can find her at major community events like the annual Jerk Relays Festival and Juneteenth celebration. Her mission is to provide delicious soul food at reasonable prices, producing dishes to feed your mind, body, and soul. If you follow her on social media, you will be notified of her location and the menu for the day. She is a graduate of the Washburn Culinary Institute and serves dishes such as braised oxtails, Cajun fish with flavorful jerk spices, and my personal favorite, the Italian beef sandwich. Most recently, she is the winner of the 2024 Vitality 2.0 pitch competition, sponsored by 24/7 Black, where she won $10,000, y'all. Ladies, gentlemen, and non-binary friends, I'd like to welcome the one and only Christine Johnson, lead chef and owner of Joppa Experience, to the show. Chef Joppa, thank you so much for being here today.
Well, thank you for having me. That was a wonderful introduction. We need
Yeah,
the applause. Yeah.
that is my journalism degree with all the stuff that like you sent me. I'm like, okay, what's gonna be the best thing? So
Yes.
I'm happy you liked your intro, and kind of like what I already said, y'all, before we get into the questions. I mean, if you are going to any event within the Black community here in Des Moines, and if there's a food vendor, Chef Joppa is there. I don't think
All
I've been
right.
to anything in the last 2 years that you haven't been to. So,
Awesome.
you know, the thing that I always like to start off is, I know that you are not from Iowa. You're from Chicago. And the question I always ask people that aren't from Iowa, why did you come here? Of all places. It's always a good question. So do you want to
That's
talk a
fun.
little bit about your story and your journey to Iowa, specifically Des Moines?
Yes. So yes, I was born and raised in Chicago. I lived there my whole entire life.
Mm-hmm.
So COVID hit
Mm-hmm.
and I worked for Chicago Public Schools and I worked in a lunchroom and we were required to still come to work every day to serve meals for the community. Because, sometimes lunch is all some kids have to eat. So
Mm-hmm.
Chicago Public Schools was committed to make sure that no one was left hungry.
Mm-hmm.
But in the process of doing that, I had to leave my children at home by themselves. And they were at a tender age of, I believe Sanaya was like in second or third grade. And then Sheldon was like in first grade.
Mm-hmm.
And so my brother, Rob Johnson, had came to Des Moines, Iowa when he was like 17. He went to
Mm-hmm.
Drake and graduated, and he never came back home. And so, long story short, Rob came and called and said, "Well, let me take the kids while you go to work because I'm working from home. I can take care of them."
Mm-hmm.
And so he came and got the kids. My kids was down here no longer than 2 weeks, and they was like, "Mom, we hungry. Uncle Rob can't cook.
Oh,
You need to you need to come on down here and feed us."
yep.
So what
Okay.
I did was I packed up my grill in my little white car and everything that I needed, to fix the kids something to eat. So I got
Mm-hmm.
here and I was cooking for the kids and Rob. And Rob started inviting everybody and their mama over. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, well, let's do it. I'm down for community. So
Yeah.
we ate, had fun and whatever. And then after that, people were saying, we don't have this type of food down here.
No.
Soul food is really not a thing for Iowa. This is some things that we missing. It's a lot of Chicago people here too. They were
Mm-hmm.
saying they was missing the taste of home. And on the ride home, I said to myself, my whole life I had been committed to working for other people. I had a catering business on the side that I would just do for family and friends. But I was committed to, to Chicago Public Schools. And I said, everything that I'm giving to them, I can give to myself. So I decided to take a chance on me. And I had never lived anywhere else before. And I said, hell, if it don't work, I can always pack up and go back home. This is not, something that I am have locked into, something I have to stay committed to. And so the other thing that made me want to move to Des Moines, Iowa was my children.
Mhm.
My son was able to run and play outside. He was able to ride a
Mm.
bike. My daughter could walk to the store and come back.
Mhm.
It was a safe place for children to be children.
Mhm.
And so, and I was like, that we can do. So with all that included, people needed soul food. I knew that I could provide that. My children, it was a safe environment for my children. I said, hell, let's not do it. So I
Yeah.
took $5,000 that I had and I moved me and my kids here, August 2020.
Mhm.
August 1st is when we moved here. I moved here with no job, just a
Wow.
commitment to myself and to stay dedicated to the hustle to be where I'm at today.
Mhm. I love that. Like, I feel like if history has told us kind of anything, especially when we think about our experiences and the experiences of Black women before us,
Mhm.
we pour so much into other people, don't
We
we?
do. We do. We
And
committed to everybody
we
but
are
ourselves.
committed to everyone but ourselves. So hearing you say, first of all, I could always go home if it don't work out.
Mhm.
But instead of pouring into everyone else, I'm gonna pour into me. I
Mhm.
mean, that that is something that even I didn't really start doing until recently, and that's with this
So
podcast. So I really
okay.
love how that was your driving force, is that no one else is gonna give me this opportunity, so I'm just gonna go ahead and take it. I
Yes,
absolutely
ma'am.
I love that. And I actually met your brother this past, winter. We were on the I'll Make Me a World,
Okay.
planning committee.
Okay.
So yeah, so it's always good to see and have people that are from Chicago. When they come here, they stay here. So
Mhm. Mhm.
I think that's amazing. So with you being from Chicago,
Mhm.
moving here now, because visiting Iowa is one thing, moving
Right.
to Iowa, it
Mhm.
is a totally different thing, especially moving to Des Moines. Talk to
Yes.
me a little bit about what those first couple of months were like for you living here. I
Well,
mean, you moved during the pandemic, so
I
your
did.
experience is definitely going to be different than a lot of others. So, do you want to talk
Mhm.
a little bit about what those first couple of months in Iowa were like, and maybe what were some, oh, okay, I didn't know that that was here type of
Mhm.
thing.
Well, to be honest, moving from Chicago to Iowa, it definitely was a drastic change because, Chicago is a city that never sleeps. It's always something
Mhm.
going on. People are always moving. And it's like, oh, wow. So when we moved here, everything closed about 9-ish, 10.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
the city shuts down if
Mhm.
it's not like a club or something. So, and then the other thing that was different is, Chicago has a lot of corner stores. The gas
Yeah.
station here, the gas station is the corner store.
Yep.
It was different
Yep.
things, and then the other thing was the food desert that's here, like, all the chain restaurants, no really mom and pop shops here, and
Mhm.
it's like, where do you get decent food from? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Everybody doesn't always want McDonald's, Arby's, Popeyes.
Mhm.
You wanna go into a little mom and pop shop, pick you up something that you feel is kinda like home cooked or whatever,
Mhm.
and this is really that they really don't have that down here. So when I saw all of that, but the good part of moving down here was, my anxiety level went all the way down. So
Really?
Des Moines,
Okay.
Iowa is because it moves slower than Chicago.
Yes. True.
Your head doesn't always have to be on the swivel.
Mhm.
You can sit somewhere. They do move a little slow, but I got used to it now.
Yep. Right.
But Des Moines, Iowa, though, I will say this. If you're ready, and you have to be ready and committed to make a change. And
Mhm.
if you're not ready or committed to make a change, this definitely will shift you or send you away because you'll be like, it's nothing to do here. It's boring.
Yep.
It's this, it's
Yep.
that. But you
Mhm.
have to be ready and committed to make a change. And if you're
Mhm.
ready to be committed and to make a change, then
Mhm.
Iowa is the place for you. And the only reason why I say that is because Des Moines, Iowa is on its way up.
Yes.
We're just in the soil right now. But
Mhm.
if you can come and you can plant your seeds and till your land, once Des Moines, Iowa gets to where it's finna be, you're already rooted and grounded and you can be a staple.
Yeah, absolutely. I've had the privilege of kind of living all over the country. So I'm born and raised here, but I left here for 9.5, 10 years.
Okay.
And I would always tell people, so I lived up in Wisconsin for a bit. I lived in Wyoming for about 10 months, almost a year. Then I was in Yuma, Arizona for about 5 years. And
Okay.
I tell people all the time, especially if I would travel to Birmingham, Alabama, or Indianapolis, or even up to LA, Vegas, I tell people all the time, don't sleep on Des Moines. Do
That's
not,
right.
because
Mhm.
when I tell you, when you come to this city and you see just all of the things, especially the things that are progressive and culturally diverse here,
Mhm.
you would really be surprised. And we would definitely rival like Minneapolis or Chicago,
Mhm.
Milwaukee,
Mhm.
places like
Mhm.
that. And granted, I feel like, and you probably have experienced this though, when you tell people I live in Iowa, you have to be very specific.
Mhm.
I live in Des Moines.
Right.
Nope, I don't live in any other, I live in Polk
Exactly.
County.
Mhm. You do.
You
You
have
do.
to let people know because the rest of the state, I
Agreed.
listen, it was not
Agreed.
like this when I was a kid, all of the
Mhm.
sudden, right? But yeah, well, I think that that's fantastic. And so for your kids, so now they're in middle school, is that right?
Well,
Or
my son is going to middle school and my
okay.
daughter's going to high school.
Okay, so now that they're in middle school and high school now, what are
Mhm.
their thoughts about living here in Iowa and how different it is from being in Chicago?
Well, from a mother's standpoint, Sanaya and Sheldon are living, and I keep saying it because I don't think people understand. They're living a childhood. Does that
Mhm.
make sense? They're able to be children.
Mhm.
And the one thing that I will say that Des Moines Public School does offer is the opportunity for your children to play in every sport that they ever want to dream about.
Yep.
They have music, the music department, the band, the orchestra.
Mhm.
And so in Chicago, those things, we have those things, but if
Mhm.
you're not top tier or if you're not, your parents doesn't have the money to pay for you to get in it, that's
Mhm.
not an option for you. And
Mhm.
then, like my daughter, her whole middle school, Sanaya played basketball, volleyball. She
Mhm.
played soccer. She played in a band. Uh, my son, he's just now going to middle school, but Sheldon was in the band.
Mhm.
The after school programs that he was allowed to be in. He was in a hip hop class. And in the hip
Mm.
hop class, he was able to make beats and sing of it. I have his song on my phone as my ringer.
I
Uh,
love that.
yeah,
Oh.
so, the kids are allowed to be kids, and they
Yes.
are allowed to experience what childhood is. Sanaya was on the cheerleader team. I mean,
Mhm.
every sport there was, every season, she was in every sport.
Mhm.
So, these children, and it's kid stuff that's gonna happen. That's everywhere you go. But I'm
Mhm.
just saying the opportunities that they are allowed to be in and to do, and the places that they are allowed to go, and the things they are allowed to see is totally different from Chicago.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, and I've heard that a lot, especially I've one of my best friends, she does my hair and she's from Chicago as well, and she said the same thing. She's been here for over 10 years, and the fact that her son is getting a different type of education than maybe what she grew up with,
Mhm.
it speaks volumes. And I'm a product of Des Moines Public Schools also. My dad is an educator. He's been with DMPS for 46
Oh,
years.
wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, 46 years, and he has really seen the evolution of public schools, especially
Mhm.
here in Des Moines, and even for someone like me I was in the orchestra, I ran track, horrible,
Right,
ran JV as a
exactly,
senior.
yes,
It was the fact
yeah,
to do it, right?
exactly, yes.
Yeah, 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 and you'll also see too, especially if your kids are going to, a Des Moines high school, that pride stays with you, like,
Mhm.
I had a friend, I went to a thing at work the other day, and I was talking to this lady, and she was like, "Oh, I'm from Des Moines." I said, "Okay, what high school did you go to?" And she was like, I went to Hoover." I said, "Oh." And
Uh-oh.
she was like, "Oh, let me guess." I said, "You already know I went to Roosevelt." So
Yeah.
that's just how we are. We're very
Mhm.
proud of where we go to school because our experience is so unique. And I think also with how diverse the schools are now,
Mhm.
and even with some of the things that our superintendent is wanting to do, there's a lot of greatness
Mhm.
within the school district here, and I'm happy that your kids are having that experience to just be kids. So that's awesome.
Mhm.
So I kind of before we get into the food, the
Mhm.
other thing I really want to talk with you about is I feel like every time I talk with someone about being here and being in Des Moines and living in Iowa, there's always questions of what is the Black community like? I feel like, especially for people that move here, they find it difficult to find us. But I feel
Mhm.
like because your brother was here, he kind of had already made some connections.
Yes,
So
that is true.
with him, first of all, not knowing how to cook, having you come here and then
Right.
really hyping you up and really
Mhm.
celebrating your success and your talent. Can you talk to me a little bit about how you were received within the Black community here and then maybe how that's really helped you elevate your business?
Well, I will say, you are right. Rob did introduce me and bring me in to people that I probably would have never met on my own,
Mm,
because he is rooted and grounded in the community because of the work that he does. But the Black community received me well. But the other
mhm,
thing that I would have to say is I told Rob this and I told other people, I said, Rob did bring me here and he walked me to the door, but I kicked the door off the hinges, right?
mhm.
Because
Yes.
people can bring you to the water, but if you don't drink, then it
Mhm.
does nothing for you. So he
Right.
did bring me in. He did introduce me to people, but I showed up and
Mhm.
my work spoke for itself. And not only did my work speak for itself, my cooking speaks for itself, right?
Right. Mhm.
And so I hustled when I got here. I started at Platinum, Big Rob
Mhm.
shop on 23rd Street.
Mhm. Yeah.
I started at Platinum. When I was selling food at my home, I would get up every morning,
Mhm.
figure out what they wanted for lunch. And then on the
Mhm.
weekends, I would cook them breakfast and lunch and
Wow.
hell, sometimes dinner. And so for me, getting up, waking up, serving the barbers in the barber shop, then it
Mhm.
moved to people in the barber shop say, "Oh, what you cooking today? Can I get some?" And then that
Mhm.
moved from people looking for me every week. Is the girl coming in here with the food this week? You
Yeah.
understand what
Yeah.
I'm saying? And then, like you said, I showed up at the uh the community events that were going on, such as Soul Fest,
Yeah.
um, the Be Well long shots thing. You know, Be Well
Mhm.
gave me a chance.
Yeah.
Loretta gave me a chance. And just the Wilkie House, it was a guy named Hal who did
Mhm.
pop-ups at the Wilkie House
Mhm.
when I first moved here. So, one event turned into another event and another event turned into another event. And then that event turned into, oh, do you cater?
Yep.
Deja DeJere, I catered for the back to school bash thing for
Mhm.
them. So, it just turned into a word of mouth.
Yeah.
And every time a word came out, a order came in. Like, have
Yep.
you seen Rob's sister or Chrissy? And then my
Yeah.
name. What's the name of your business? Joppa Experience. Joppa
Mhm.
Experience. Go to Joppa Experience. I cater for the MLK thing for the
Mhm.
Greater Des Moines Partnership.
Mhm.
So I've been places and done things, and the word of mouth just kept going, going, and going. And then people just
Right.
kept on saying, like, let's call her. She know what she doing.
Yeah. Exactly. And I really think that too, that with your your background and especially having that specialty in soul food, that is
Mhm.
not something that we have here. We don't have a soul food restaurant. We don't have that place that's here and it's been here for 25, 30
Right.
years. So like
Exactly. Yep.
I feel like over the years and growing up there have been places here and
Mhm.
there, but there hasn't been anything that's really stuck. And I've been back here in Iowa since 2018.
Okay.
That's when I decided to move back because I wanted to be closer to my family and I was tired of living. Arizona is hot. It's
Uh-huh.
I lived in Yuma.
Okay.
So a June day like this in Yuma, it's like 108 degrees. So
Oh,
I was like,
wow.
no, I'm done. I want to go home. But since I came here and then since I feel like once I heard Joppa Experience in maybe like 2021, I've
Mhm.
literally been hearing it ever since.
Mhm.
And I know you had a storefront for a little bit at Merle Hay.
Okay.
And then now, and it was crazy too because like I've been following you for a long time. And every time you would pop up and you'd be like, "Hey, I'm here. Hey, I'm here." It was always, "I'm at work. I'm out
Mhm.
of town. Got something to do. I'm 30
Mhm.
minutes late." And I'm just like, "Man, when
Mhm.
am I gonna try her food?" And then
Mhm.
I finally was able to try your food at I'll Make Me a World.
Okay.
And I have had I have not had many Italian beef sandwiches,
Mhm.
but that one, I wanted
Yes,
another
ma'am.
one right after. So talk to me a little bit about maybe a young Christine. When did food become a passion for you?
Uh, a young Christine. So, well, from my understanding, um, my mom could cook
Mhm,
like that. That was my mom. But from my understanding, so my grandmother died when I was 8 years old.
mhm,
So I never really got to experience my grandmother as a full adult or at a time that I could have uh what memories of her, right?
right, mhm,
So from my understanding, from what I was told, my grandmother, my great grandmother, and my great aunt, they all uh cook, and they
mhm.
used to own a restaurant inside of a tavern when
Wow,
before I was even born, I should say.
okay.
And so they could cook. And so my mom could cook, and we had an auntie Barbara, and they both were the cooks of the family.
Mhm,
And so, from my understanding, cooking is in my DNA,
mhm.
right? So it's something that I do without even thinking. Like it doesn't matter that I do. I can do it, and it doesn't do anything. You know how some people can do some things, and they be like, "Oh
Yeah,
my god, how long?" I just do it. I could just do what I got to do and keep it moving.
right.
And so, a
Mhm.
young Christine, I've been cooking since I was like 12.
Oh,
I
wow.
w yeah, my mom, had stopped cooking for a while, so I had to take over the kitchen. Rob
Mhm.
was a spoiled brat,
Oh,
and so whatever he
listen,
said.
Rob, you heard that. She said you were the problem,
He was.
okay?
He
You
was the
was the
problem.
problem. Listen, Rob, Christine said it, not me. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, he was the problem. So whatever he wanted at whatever time he wanted it, we would have to do it, right?
Okay. Mhm,
And so as I got older, I never forget I was working for, uh, my first lady in her daycare,
mhm.
and she asked, to cook lunch. And so I went upstairs and I cooked lunch in her daycare, and she was like, "Girl, you could cook better than me." And I was like, "Well, we're not gonna do that." But as
Yeah.
time went on, people would call me like, "Well, let's call Chrissy. Chrissy know what she doing. Let's
Mhm,
call Chrissy to do this. Let's call Chrissy to do that." So of course, family and friends will always call me for events,
mhm.
uh, cookout. I was there. Like, Chrissy, can you cook this? Can you cook that? And then I worked for a non-for-profit organization since I'm from 21 to 31. And
Okay.
whenever it was an event, I was the one to bring the food. Like, Chrissy gonna cook.
Mhm.
Tell Chrissy bring this, this, and this. And I've been cooking forever,
Wow.
uh, forever. And so it's just, I believe it's just in my DNA, and it's rooted
Mhm.
and ingrained in my hands. And that's the gift that God gave me. I really
Yeah.
believe that's the gift God have given me to cook.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. And listen, those gifts, man, when we have them, we have to use them, right?
Mhm.
We absolutely do. So, in your intro, I ran through a couple of your um the items that are on your menu. So we have Cajun fish, we have the braised oxtails, which I've never had oxtails before. And
Mhm.
that's one of those dishes to me where it's like, I don't wanna make it because I know oxtails are not cheap, and
Mhm.
I really wanna, like, somebody experienced to do it, and then
Right.
I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
Uh, so of all of those things, I feel like, soul food, it true that passion, the flavor really does come from the soul, but what you did is you also attended culinary school.
I did.
So, talk to me a little bit about what your purpose was for going to culinary school to learn more and perfect your craft. Why was that important to you?
So, our mom had our mom was very sick. And
Mm,
what happened was, in the middle of culinary school, I think I hadn't even got through my phase 1, our mom had passed away.
Okay.
And so I was committed to making sure that that was something that I finished because she
Mhm.
was able to see me to get in, but she wasn't able to see me finish. I
Yeah.
should say, physically.
Mhm.
Spiritually, yes, but not physically.
Absolutely.
And so, culinary school was just for me to make sure that so in a black family, we'll learn or we're taught to cook with seasoning, right?
Mhm.
You season everything with salt, pepper, garlic
Yep.
powder,
Onion
onion
powder.
powder,
Well.
and all the other stuff. And so what culinary school taught me was the difference between different herbs,
Mm.
different techniques on how to cook things,
Mhm.
the difference between braising and sauteing, all type of stuff, right?
Mhm.
And so my chef, and he could contest to this, he told me, he said, Christine, you know how to cook. You're not here to learn how to cook. You're here
Mhm.
to learn different techniques and how to do different things and what's the things that are required in order for you to run a kitchen. Because that's what culinary school teaches you. It
Mhm.
teaches you the front of the house, the back of the house. It teaches you costing and things like that. So it teaches you how to run a business. Basically, is what
Yes.
culinary school teaches you.
Right.
And so that's what I learned in
Mhm.
culinary school. So culinary school basically only thing it just added to what I already knew, if that makes
Right.
sense.
Right. Right. 'Cause I work in higher ed, and I feel like a lot of the time I have students come to me all the time. I'm like, okay, what do you want to do? Well, I want to be an entrepreneur.
Mhm,
Okay. What type of business do you want to go into? Well, I just know I
mhm,
want to go into business for myself. Okay, cool. But what like what is your product? What is your craft? What's going to be the thing that makes you the entrepreneur and what product are you putting out into the world? I feel like unfortunately that's kind of like a step that some people don't get. But
mhm,
with you going to culinary school, it's like, okay, so I'm perfecting my craft and I'm also learning how to work for myself, which I think
mhm.
is fantastic. So, um, talk to me about your menu. So I know I listed off 3 things here,
Yes.
but oh, and the other thing I didn't mention,
Mhm.
your lemon pepper wings,
You are funny.
like, it was funny because like, I was with my friend last time when we saw you at during Drake Relays, and he was like, "Hey, let me get one." Whoa, whoa. That is there
That
are
is funny.
only 6 like, there are only
That
10
I
here. Like,
that
I
is funny.
I sat there, I ate every last wing,
That is
did not
funny.
share. I said, "You cannot go. You cannot collect $200.
That is
These are
funny.
mine." Okay? Absolutely not. So, talk to me about your menu, and if someone were to see, "Hey, Joppa Experience is gonna be here from this time to
Mhm.
this time." What are some things that they could look forward to on your menu? And then for that first timer, what is that thing that they should get that says when you think about it, you're gonna think of Joppa Experience?
So, Joppa Experience is known for oxtails.
Mhm.
That's one of my number one sellers because oxtails are not offered down here,
Yeah.
so especially the oxtails. Turkey tips would be number 2
Okay.
because many people don't know what turkey tips are, but it's the
I
turkey.
I don't.
Yeah.
Please elaborate. Because I'm just like,
Yeah,
it's like, what is that?
a lot of people don't eat pork or they don't eat beef. So what
Mhm.
we do is we offer a turkey option in the way that you would eat rib tips or the way that you would eat beef tips. So
Okay.
instead of calling just turkey, it's called turkey tips. And
Turkey
once again,
tips. Okay.
that's something I brought with me from Chicago. So
Okay.
my menu is based off of Chicago, but with a soul food twist. So
Mhm.
originally we started out with steak burgers, Italian beef, fish sandwiches, wings, uh, and the mild sauce is number 1 on the menu. And
Mhm.
then we switched it over and brought in that jerk menu, which is the jerk rib tips, the jerk chicken, the
Mm.
oxtails. The oxtails are not jerk, but they're braised because everyone doesn't like jerk. So we
Mhm.
had to offer an option, that doesn't have the jerk in it. So we got the oxtails, and now we're moving on to just grilled chicken, sauteed fish. I mean, it's just a lot of stuff that we're going to offer, and then we're going to bring that Chicago menu in. It's called like a $5 holler. You'll be able to get a Chicago pizza puff. You'll be able to get chicken rings. You'll be able to get um onion rings. All type of stuff is just gonna jump off on that menu. When I tell you this menu is gonna be out of control, but in a good way, that Joppa
I'm just
Experience.
like, I'm just sitting here thinking, like, my back is just gonna stay big because you had me at a chicken ring. Oh, I
Yes,
need
ma'am.
to know what that is. I need to try that.
Yeah.
I don't even really like turkey, but I'm like, I gotta try these turkey tips because those sound good. Of course, I want to try. But yeah, I'm gonna literally just come in and just be like, just make me something.
So
That's fine.
let me tell you, at Juneteenth, we had a guy come up to the tent and he was like, he asked me for something. I said, baby, we don't have that today. I said, but what I do have is some turkey tips. He's like, nah, turkey dry. I said, okay, don't worry about it. I said, hold on 1 second. I told Nate, I said, Nate, put him a piece of that turkey on that fork and let him taste it.
Mm-hmm.
He ate that turkey. He said, yeah, give me 2 of them. I said, that's what
But
I thought.
yeah, period,
That's
period.
what I thought.
And
I
let
said, people.
yes, and let's let the record show. I ain't never had a turkey from a Black person and it's dry.
Yes, ma'am.
That has
Right.
never happened in the history of my life at all. So you don't even have to tell me that. Like I already know it's gonna be good. So
Yes, ma'am.
a person coming to your pop up for the first time,
Mhm.
what's the number one thing you want them to try?
So we have oxtails. Try the oxtail sampler.
Okay. And
Yep.
what all comes with the oxtail
So
sampler?
the oxtail sampler is the oxtails, and then you get the juice with the carrots, the onions, the
Mm,
celery, the thyme, and
mm,
the gravy poured on top of. I have a seasoned white rice. It's white rice that I season very well, but it's
mhm.
kind of under seasoned, but it is seasoned if it makes sense. Like if you
Mhm.
taste it, you'll be like, "Oh, that's good." You know how you eat something, you be like, "Well, let me try it again," but you keep going
Yeah,
back. You like,
to
"There's
make
something
sure that
about it."
the flavor is the
Mm,
same.
right. So
Yes.
it's kinda like a seasoned, unseasoned rice because you don't wanna over season it because then
Right.
you got the oxtail to go on top of it to complement it because the rice is only
Mhm.
supposed to complement the oxtail. So you put those 2 together, baby, you in a world of heaven.
All right. Okay. All right. All
Yes,
right.
ma'am. You in
Yes,
a
and
world of
like I
heaven.
said, I am determined to try those
Well
oxtails.
well, if
So,
you're here Friday,
this
come on
upcoming
6th
Friday,
Avenue. Come on 6th Avenue. We'll be out
I'll be
there
here.
from 12 until sold out. Yep,
Okay.
stop by there and get you an oxtail.
All right. All right. I'm gonna do it. I can't wait. I'm so
Okay.
excited. I'm so excited. So, the other thing I want to talk about is so you had the storefront at Rohe and
Mhm.
now you're going towards a pop-up. And I know that you've kind of showcased the location that you would like. So tell us a little bit. I mean, are we gonna get a standalone Joppa experience here pretty soon? Kind of tell us a little bit about the vision for your business.
So actually we're no longer in Mayor Hay. We shut
Mhm.
down due to it was the best decision financially
Mhm.
to shut down in Mayor Hay. So
Mhm.
that's why we turned to the pop up to stay relevant
Yeah.
within the community so the community know that we're not gone. So I've been working on 6th Avenue for almost 2 years.
Oh wow. Okay.
As far as getting a building, as far as getting lendings and getting
Mhm.
loans and
Mhm.
funding, just in general, all over together funding. And
Mhm.
so we finally at a spot to where we can open up next month in July. Yeah, so we'll be
So
opening.
exciting.
So remodeling has already started.
Uh-huh.
The hood men, I call him the hood men, but the guy that's gonna come in and do the
Yeah.
hood in
Okay.
the
Yeah.
building, uh, he'll be there Tuesday and Wednesday to install the hood.
Oh, that's because
Uh,
I know you had started a GoFundMe for that, right?
yes, yes. And
Yeah.
so
Okay.
so what people don't know is I've had the building for almost a year and a half, and I've had to pay rent on that building
Mm.
without being able to do anything inside of it.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
imagine $1,500 a month,
Yeah.
have to pay rent for almost 2 years and not being
Mm.
able to do anything inside of it.
Mhm.
So that's the reason why I did pop-ups on the parking lot. I stayed true to the game
Yes.
because I was determined to make it, and we still have a while to go, but just the fact that I'm able to see the sun shine just
Yeah.
a little bit is amazing, right? So
Right.
I believe this is our season. and I
Mhm.
believe that we're gonna walk in it, and the only thing that I'm asking God to do is to prepare me for what I'm walking into and give me the wisdom and the knowledge that I need to maintain and
Mhm.
understand what is going on within the blessing that He gave.
Yes. Oof, absolutely. Because I feel like I went to church this morning,
Mhm.
and the message that we received from the deacon was pretty much God is always going to test you, but He's never going to test you to a point where you're going to fail. He's going to
Mhm.
make sure that you are still trusting in Him. He's got a plan, and to really help you kind of move forward. And the moves that you're making are basically a part of his plan. And I honestly feel like this is definitely it for you. I screamed a little bit when I saw you won that $10,000. I was
Baby,
just
you
like,
scream. I
I
scream
know.
too. Yes,
Tell
ma'am,
me,
I scream too.
yeah. So tell me about, because I had seen that pitch competition was coming up and everything like that. And as I already said, it was the 2024 Vitality 2.0 pitch competition
Mhm.
sponsored by 24/7 Black. So do you want to tell me a little bit about how you got prepared for that competition, and maybe what are some plans you have for that $10,000?
Yeah, so so this was my first pitch competition. I had applied to many,
Okay.
but I was not accepted as, a person to do it. So when this came in, I was actually sitting on the couch because I had applied. It had been like a week or so, and I was like, I didn't hear anything back. So I was like, okay, it is what it is. I was sitting on the couch and I got an email on a Sunday. And I said,
Mm.
"What is this?" And I read it. I said, "Oh, shucky ducky, now we in here. We they done open the door."
Yeah.
So, I had told my family and friends, and some of them had helped me, uh, write, a pitch for me, and I
Yeah.
read them, and I tried to collab, some of them together, put this part with this part, that part with that part. And to be honest, I really just let the universe take over.
Mhm.
I did not have a PowerPoint. I knew I had knowledge of my business, of what I
Mhm.
wanted, where I was trying to go, and what would happen if I did win the money. You know what I'm saying? But
Mhm.
and overall, I didn't write a speech. Everything came from my heart. And
Yeah.
so when we got there, I was nervous as hell. I was
Mm.
like, "Oh God, what I'm gonna do?" And I know
Mhm.
when I speak, I am not I'm not a speaker. I don't think I am. But because I'm a very emotional person. So when I start talking about things from
Mhm.
my heart and from my
Mhm.
soul, I guess the feeling, I become overwhelmed and I
Mm.
start crying right in the middle of talking. And I hate
Yeah.
that, right?
Yeah.
And so
Mhm.
I was like, I don't need none of that. I don't need
Mhm.
none of that when I'm pitching to these people because I need these people to know that I'm able to stand 10 toes down on what I'm saying. And so
Absolutely.
when I got there, it was amazing. It really was an amazing time. So my kids came with me. I had a very, 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 very supportive group of people to come with me. And I also had very supportive people that wasn't able to make it, but was sending their blessings my way, right?
Yeah,
So I will
absolutely.
say as an adult, I have a village. And a lot of times
Mm.
people don't have that. And I'm very blessed to have a supportive village, people to stand by my side, stand 10 toes down, and to love me for exactly who I am. I don't have to
Mhm.
change. I don't have to fit in no box. I could be as big as I want, as small as I want, and they're going to love me for me. So that's one
Mhm.
of the things that keep me grounded and standing. But the other
Mhm.
thing was, I brought my kids with me. And when I say my kids, I mean everybody kid is my kid. So
Yeah.
I had Sanaya, Sheldon, Marty, and I had Zai.
Mhm.
And what I did was I had them present the people with the food
Yeah.
uh, before I started my pitch, and I had the DJ play "I'm Getting Closer to My Dreams." I think her name is
Mhm.
what's her name?
Mm.
Uh, Gape, whoever she
Okay.
is.
Okay.
And so I just had everyone. I said, "Let's clap. Let's talk about it. Let's think about this song. Can you feel it?" And
Mm.
Joppa Experience does provide a vibe. When you walk through the door, it's like you walking into home. So everybody
Okay.
was clapping and singing. And I told them, I said, "Listen," I said, "Can you feel the song? Do you feel it?" They was like, "Yeah." They was clapping. I told the DJ, I said, "Cut the music." And I told the people, I said, "Welcome to Joppa Experience,"
I
right?
love it. I
And then
love
I
it.
had the judges take the top off the food, and I said, "I need you to taste it." I said, "Put a little bit of that macaroni with that sweet potatoes. Put a little cabbage with that cornbread." I said, "Taste some turkey tips." And so they was eating and dancing in their chairs. And I told them, I said, "This is the vibe that you're looking for
Yeah.
when you walk into Joppa Experience." I said, "Could you imagine being at home with your mother or your grandmother, and you've been waiting to taste this food all day because they said it's gonna be ready at 4, but it ain't ready
Mhm.
until 6."
Because it's
And
never ready on time.
right? And so,
So many t I could go to therapy with the number of times my mouth was ready and the food wasn't done. Yeah, okay.
yeah, so I said, in the words of my son, "This food is busting," right? And they
Yes,
started laughing.
yes.
They was like, "Yup." So, it was just a whole vibe. The pitch was just a whole vibe. And I
Mhm,
just told them about my journey from Chicago to Iowa. When we got to Iowa, what I had to do, how I hustled and got to where I needed to be, and how I went from my home to the mall, how I left my mall. I had to go back home just for a little bit, but now we in a brick and mortar, and we in the
mhm.
first phase of the brick and mortar, and how we
Yes.
gonna be, the first phase is people to come in and come out. You won't be able to sit down and eat just right now, but by 2025, we'll be a sit down dining restaurant.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I I love that, and, I wish y'all coulda saw my face when she said that she's not, like, a speaker. You are. Like especially knowing who your brother is, yeah, nah, that
But
runs in the family.
so Rob, so it's three of us. It's Rob,
Okay.
Deborah, and me. And I'm
Uh-huh,
the oldest.
uh-huh.
As Rob would say, I'm the eldest, and he get beat up every time he say that. Um, but it's three of us, and I have a
Okay.
sister. She's in the middle, Deborah, and then we have Rob, who's the youngest. Now
Mhm.
those two right there, they some speakers. They
Those are the
got that.
speakers.
Yeah, that's their gift. They can
I
talk,
love
baby.
it.
Me,
Yep.
on the other hand, not so much.
Gotcha. Well, I'm telling you right now, you're just the nuggets of wisdom that you dropped in this interview. I think anyone, regardless of what their passion is, um, I definitely think that your story is incredibly inspiring because it all started the day you said, "I'm gonna bet on myself." I
Mhm,
think that takes a lot of courage, and then now that you're on this journey, like,
mhm,
did you think when you came here in summer of 2020 that
uh,
that the universe would understand, "No, my
mhm.
restaurant will be dining in 2025." Was that ever a thought for you in the long run if you think back to where you started and where you are now?
So, I will say the vision was to have my own place, right?
Mhm,
And so it's been a vision for a long time to have my own restaurant. Now,
mhm,
did I know it was gonna be this way or on this journey? No. But my whole vision was to have a restaurant. But I will say this, me moving to Iowa was definitely a a journey that I could never imagine.
mm,
One was because I had to find out who I was at the age of 40.
mm,
And the only thing I wish is I could have done it earlier, but that wasn't my time, right? We
yep,
all do that.
yep,
But what I had to find out on this journey, because when I left Chicago, I had a sense of security in Chicago. I had
mhm,
people, I had places, I had went to church, I did this, I did that. Coming to Iowa, it was only Rob, right?
mhm,
From
yeah,
from my village. I did move down here with a young lady by the name of Linda. We moved down here at the same time. She left Chicago too.
mhm,
We left at the same time. We rode in the same car. We got here at the same time. And even her life flourished when she got here, right?
yeah,
But what I
mhm,
am saying is this, I left everything in Chicago to
mhm,
come to Des Moines, Iowa, to do
mhm,
what I needed to do. And this journey of finding out who I am, and I know it's not over, was a journey that has taken me from left to right, up and down, but I would
mm,
never change it because
mm,
I truly found out who I was. And what I tell my kids on a regular basis is, I'm only doing this. So by the time you get my age, you already know one, who you are.
mhm,
Two, your mother have already laid the foundation for you. So all you got to do is just walk on the ground, right?
yeah,
So you can grow up and be who you want to be, not
mhm,
who the world tells you to be, not who
right,
they convince you to be. but who the hell you want to be. And you will know who you are because it'll already be planted deep down inside of
Mm-hmm.
you. All you
Yep.
have to do is follow the journey or follow the path on which you want to go. So
Mm-hmm.
so this whole journey taught me, one, how to be a mother, two, how to be a woman and stand on who I am, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you're
Yeah.
not finna put me in a box anymore. I'm too old for that. And if
Yep.
you can't accept me for who and what I am, then you are not meant for me.
Yep. Say it again. Say it again.
You understand?
Yes, absolutely. Because even with my experience in this podcast, I was a journalism major in college. I wanted to write for the Times and win a Pulitzer by the time I was 30 and do all of these things, right? And it didn't happen, and that's okay. But
Mhm,
I always knew that I had a story to tell, just didn't
mhm,
know how to do it and where to tell it,
mhm,
and
mhm.
I had my reckoning was when I got divorced. And
Okay.
it was, I have been Emily Radke for the last 11 years, and I have been my ex-husband's wife or girlfriend for the last 17.
Mhm,
Who is Emily Johnson solo?
mhm,
And after a lot of soul searching, a lot of dates, which we're going to do a podcast on dating in Iowa, which I'm really
mhm.
excited about because it is not fun. But outside of that, when it came to my career, the things that I enjoy doing on in my own time, but also the people, kind of like what you were saying, your village, my village,
Mhm,
and the girls that I grew up with, because we're all still friends. We have almost a 30-year friendship for
mhm.
all of us. And our stories are important. They need to be told. And so are the stories of other Black women and Black people in this community living this
Mhm.
unique experience.
Yeah. And
And
so Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I oh, I was just gonna say, and in that moment, I figured out what my purpose was. My purpose is this podcast. My
Mhm,
purpose is to give a voice and give a platform and let people talk about their unique experiences in the state. And,
mhm,
when you do that and you really start to live into your purpose and really start to understand who you are,
mhm.
sky's the limit.
It is.
Absolutely.
And the other thing I will say is I moved from one city to another, and the one thing that I can say is I found me a village here, right?
Yeah.
I
Mm-hmm.
found me a sense of community here, and I have people. I'm not gonna say a person. I got people. Do you hear me?
Mm.
That
Yep.
don't play about me, right?
Yes.
And they coming, and I don't mean that in a bad or a good way. I just mean overall, they got my back. I can
100%.
make a phone call, something gonna happen. And that just let me know. But what that did let me know is I am true to who I am. Because
Mm-hmm.
if you can leave one city and gain the same thing that you had in another where you didn't know nobody but your brother for real, for real. I knew
Mm-hmm.
some people, but I'm saying, but didn't know anybody. And I got women, men that are staying up in the gap for me.
Yep.
And that's a blessing all by itself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. Well, I definitely want to throw my hat in the ring of the people. I don't play about you, especially not with that Italian beef. No, I don't play about Chef Joppa. Absolutely not.
Well,
So you
I
better put some
appreciate
respect
that.
there.
Yes,
Absolutely.
ma'am.
So thank you so much for just taking the time and talking about your experience and your journey, and also just inspiring anyone and everyone listening to this podcast about why
Mhm.
it's important, to bet on yourself. Um, again, Chef Joppa, thank you so much. Thank
No,
you
thank you.
so
Thank you, Emily.
much.
And I appreciate you.
Yes, I appreciate you too. So, all right, everyone, we're going to take a short break. I'll be back with final thoughts, and then we will wrap up this week's show. What a great episode. What a great interview. Thank you again to Christine Johnson, aka Chef Joppa of Joppa Experience. I really appreciated this conversation for so many reasons. I will tell you though, the one thing I wish I hadn't have done was to do this interview on an empty stomach. Because when she started talking about turkey tips and burgers and Italian beef and oxtails, which I still have not had yet. I know I'm slipping. Um, yeah, like after that interview, I was just starving, basically. But um, just such a great person to talk to, and you know, I've been very fortunate that on this podcast, I have been able to talk with quite a few entrepreneurs. I talked with Flo Rose, an author. I talked with Courtney Perry of Lady Luck Scented Candles and Privacy LLC. I've talked with Brian Ward of Forward Consulting. Um, and what I really noticed in all of this, and these amazing women that I have talked to that have owned businesses and um, have created something to where instead of putting everything into someone else, they're putting everything into themselves and their business, is that there is no reason for me. This is my personal takeaway. There is no reason for me not to bet on myself on certain things. And, that is just what I'm going to continue to do moving forward. I really feel like I spent just so much of my time and my life putting everything into others. And a lot of that even stemmed from my marriage, to where when I got out of that marriage and then I got out of this idea that like I needed to find someone, right? And now that I'm in this and I'm truly in my single girl era, um, I'm really starting to realize that it's okay for me to put into me, and that my ideas are important and they mean something. But also to kind of like add on to that, what I really loved about this conversation that I had with Chef Joppa is that she's about the hustle. You know what I mean? Just because something doesn't work, that doesn't mean that your plan is doomed or failed. It just means you have to start over and you have to do something else. You have to be versatile. And if you have a dream, if you have something, a passion that you really want to see come to fruition, it will happen. You really just have to keep with it. So that was like my biggest takeaway from my conversation with Chef Joppa. Um, the other thing is just learning more about her story. Like, I had no idea that she came here during the pandemic. And again, I started really hearing more and more about her as 2020, as 2021, 2022 came about. And then for her to really bet on herself, but not only do that, but to understand that the move from Chicago to Des Moines was going to be beneficial, not only for her success, but for her children's success. I loved hearing about how active and involved her kids are in school and really embracing what Des Moines has to offer. And I feel like when she was talking about the fact that she has a village is incredibly important. And that is one of the things that I feel like has really been echoed on this podcast from past interviews is the experiences that a lot of people are having, a lot of women are having are because of the village that they are creating around them. And I just love that. Like I truly love that. And, I feel like even in my instance, I have a village of people around me that have really been able to help and support me over the years. And, you know, those are the people that usually see something in you that other people don't. And that was another thing that I really love. Um, the other thing that I really enjoyed about my conversation with Chef Joppa is how she saw a need for something that Des Moines did not have. And listen, if you guys are from here and you're listening, you already know there are not a lot of Black eateries here. Um, there have been quite a few over the years. Some haven't made it. Some, we all know about, like Mr. Bibbs over on 6th Avenue near North High School. Yeah, we've all been there. But it's just really nice that someone is really trying to cultivate not just a restaurant, not just a place where, you can go grab a quick bite, but kind of like how she was talking about the pitch that she did for the vitality competition. It's an experience. She's not just creating a restaurant. She's creating something to where you can absolutely go and get a bite and leave, but it's like you stay for the ambiance, you stay for the atmosphere. And I am really excited um, for her restaurant to truly come to fruition and to be an eat-in place in 2025. I am extremely excited for her. But what I also love though is that she's not waiting for that to happen. That's why she's doing the pop-ups. That's why she's catering. That's why she's doing all of these amazing things in preparation for that big move. So it's almost like she's creating like all of these little mini experiences. So then that way, moving forward, we're all going to be able to experience that big thing, which I'm really excited for. So overall, I love this interview. I really hope that some of you had a moment to kind of write down some of those nuggets, some of those things that that she was definitely dropping, the knowledge. I think that my favorite quote from the episode is the one that I did the sneak peek for. She said, "I had to find out who I was at 40." I felt that. I'm truly figuring out and finding out who I am at 38. And it's so crazy because sometimes I do sit and I think, man, like what would it have been like if I would have started this journey 5 years ago? And the thing is, just like what she said, she wasn't ready for it earlier, and neither was I. I feel like in a way, God moves things around for you to really receive that message when you're ready to receive it. I feel like Chef Joppa got there. I feel like that's where I currently am right now. And, I'm never gonna be the one to kind of deny his plan and what is to move forward. So again, thank you so much to Chef Joppa. I had some technical difficulties, unfortunately, at the end of the episode. So I will go be putting in the show notes where you can find Chef Joppa. The Facebook page is called Joppa Experience. The Instagram is at Joppa Experience. All of that will be linked in the show notes. Before we wrap this up and I give a sneak peek into next week's episode, which I am so excited for, this is the last call, y'all. The official Black Girl Iowa shop pre-order will remain open until 11:59 on Tuesday, October 15th, 2024. Okay? So please go get your merch, hooded sweatshirts, crew neck sweatshirts, notebooks, tote bags, regular unisex t-shirts, women's slim fit tees. So that way, these things make you look snatched. I absolutely love mine. Please make sure you guys are going out and supporting those orders that have been placed will be sent out within the next 2 weeks. So please be sure that you are going and doing so. I will be opening up the shop again. I just haven't picked a date yet. So please make sure that if you want your stuff now, you better get it now. All right. So other than that, next week's episode is going to be a solo one, you guys. I am finally doing my journaling episode. So I really want to talk about journaling, how this is a piece of self-care for me, and just what are some things, tips, tricks, techniques that I use, what it means for me to pick up a notebook, pick up a good pen, and also what are some ways that you guys could potentially jumpstart your journaling journey. So that will be next week's episode. Really excited to share that with you guys because I have literally been journaling since I was a child. I'm also going to talk about some of the things that I used to journal, which, I'm not even going to, yeah, I used to journal. My journals were wild back in the day. But we'll talk all about all of that later. Other than that, again, thank you so much for listening. If you want more Black Girl Iowa, please be sure to go to my website, www.blackgirliowa.com, where you guys can check out my blog and some other new features that I'm going to be putting out there. You also can follow me on Instagram at Black Girl Iowa. And also don't forget the show every Monday, 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. This is when a new fresh episode drops on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Music. Again, thank you so much. This is your girl, Emily, with Black Girl Iowa signing off. Be well, stay focused, be good to yourself. I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.